Hi, Jenna.
Well, hi, Shelby.
And welcome back to Miss Willa's Book Club.
Welcome back.
Woo-hoo. All right, what are we getting into today?
We are talking about Four Roomed Realms. This is the second book in the... What's the series called?
Good question.
The series that starts with 5 broken blades.
Yes.
By
5 broken blades.
Mai Corland, yes. We both gave 5 broken blades, what, like 4.5 or 5 stars?
I gave it 5. It was my first 5-star of last year.
Yeah, I feel like it was 4.5 or 5. What did you rate Four Roomed Realms?
I gave it a 4.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I gave it 4.5.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because did you just say you gave it 4.5 or 5? 5 broken blades?
I think I gave it 4.5, but I don't remember. I'd have to go back and look at my rating
I would
again.
too. Well, that's a lie. I knew that I gave 5
A
broken
5,
blades a
yeah.
5. But for this one, I either gave it a 4 or 4.5.
Yeah.
Because I was like...
Not quite as good as the first one for you.
Yeah.
Fair.
It didn't hit as much as it did for me. I loved Five Broken Blades. I loved it. I thought it was so interesting. I thought it was so well done. And then for some reason, like spoiler free, I just could not get into this one. I think I sat in the first 100 pages of the book for like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I feel like it started off a little bit slow for me also. And it obviously picked up as the book went on. Maybe a little bit slow. But the biggest reason why I dropped the rating was they're in a totally different realm, right? Like a whole different area. Literally
Same.
not a visual picture in my mind
Not
of
at
what,
all.
like, I had no idea where they were the whole time. And I know there's a map and I know that it's probably described and stuff, but I'll say I no idea where they were.
That is exactly how I felt too. I had the hardest time, and especially where we're all in like these different places. And this time around, it just didn't. The location didn't really hit for me.
Yeah, like I feel like in the first book, at least, even though there was a lot of traveling, it was
Yeah.
also kind of like picking each other up along the way on the road to the king.
Yes.
And so for some reason, that travel like clicked better than this did for me.
Agreed. That is exactly how I felt. And so it was just, I don't know, it was just a little bit more challenging to get into.
Yeah.
And I had a really hard time with the POVs again.
Oh, did you?
I did.
Of not, what was hard about the POVs for you?
So when I read 5 Broken Blades, it was like really hard for me to get into the 6 different POVs that we had. But as soon as we were like halfway through the book, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm rolling with it. Like they all have very different voices, which I really like. But getting into this one, it was hard to remember who was who and to get back into it. Like I had to go back and listen to our podcast episode about it.
Oh, really? I should have done that. I didn't think about it. I did love, if you have I'm sure it's on all of the copies of it, but I loved that there was the 1-page summary on the beginning of this. So like right at the beginning, if you're looking at our video, there was like a page that said previously in the Broken Blades trilogy. Oh, I guess that's what it's called. It's just
the Broken
trilogy.
Blades. There we go.
And so that was actually really helpful
Yes.
for me to like remind just like really quick,
Same.
like 1-pager of what happened in the previous book.
Yeah.
I can kind of get that it maybe takes a second just to remember whose name is whose and whatever and all that happened. I think part of why I had a hard time getting into it also is because I guess rightfully so everybody was so mad at Ari, but I felt like they were like way more mad than they needed to be.
Yes.
So I was kind of like, okay, get over it.
Well, because like you guys are all liars. You guys were all brought into
you
this
were
for
all
some
liars.
reason.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I was like, oh my gosh. Like, yeah, I definitely, and I'll get into some more.
Yeah.
Some spoilers. But before we even get into that, like, we are going to have spoilers for Four Roomed Realms and 5 Broken Blades. So please don't listen to this if you haven't read both of those.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had kind of a hard time with how hard everybody was on her. Oh, goodness gracious. Well,
I'm trying to think. Was there
yeah.
anything else
Any
spoiler free?
I don't think so.
Well, okay. Well, before we get
Let's get into
started,
it.
as always, if you want to see what we're up to or what we're reading, you can check out our socials. Miss Willa's Book Club
Love it.
pod
Yeah.
on TikTok and Instagram. I had to think about that for a second.
Because I feel like you've been posting some fun, like, this is what I'm reading right now.
I'm
which
trying.
Is so fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm trying to be a little more vocal about what I'm reading. There's some
love
good
it.
stuff going on.
I know. I feel like you always read so many. I love it. Like, oh, now I want to read it. Immediate add to my TBR.
Sweet. Okay, well, should we get into
Perfect.
spoilers
Oh
for
my
5
gosh,
Broken
yes.
Blades and 4 Roomed Realms?
Heck yes. So we're starting off this book, and this is all in like the summary from the last book, but basically they all tried to kill King June, And he set it all up.
It was all a ploy to get them together.
Yes. And so now we're like heading to this other continent. Ty is like in a prison the entire time. Yeah. And they're all trying to scheme to get this ring.
So they're all going to the king's sister to try and, get the ring. And we're leaving off 5 Broken Blades with, I think it was in 5 Broken Blades, that we think Yoon's a bastard.
Yes.
That he's like, doesn't actually have the blood of the rulers.
Yes.
So we're not like TBD, right? On if he can even take the
crown.
Right. And so then that leaves some questions there. Everybody is sketched out by Yoon because they found out about his whole like chasing down people for sport. And so they're like, is he even better? Like, do we even want him in that
do we even want him in our circle?
Well, or to replace the king, right? Because they were kind of talking about all of this to put Yoon on the throne, but now they're like questioning whether they even want Yoon on the throne.
Yeah, they're like, we're just going to add another person who's already the same as his father.
Right.
Like, we don't want that.
Right.
Yep.
And to your point, Ty is just gone this whole time. He's doing his own, he's locked up doing his own thing, right? So Lord knows what's going on there. And the rest of them are all on a ship to this other realm to like basically repeat what happened last season, you know? Like,
that's a good way to put it. Trying to steal the relic again.
Yeah, trying to steal the relic again. So that's like kind of where we're picking up here, right?
I forgot starting this book that nobody knows that Aerie has the amulet.
Yeah.
I thought we found that out at the last.
I think we know as readers, but I realized that she never really told, because she doesn't want her dad to know. She doesn't want the king to know.
Yeah.
And so she never told them that was what was happening. But it was funny in the beginning having Sora recognize me like, God, her hair grows so fast.
I know.
I was like, hadn't really thought about it because they didn't get like too much into the, like they mentioned the cost in the last one, but like not too much. And so we hear more in this one of like all the time that she's like having to give up to do this. I was like, oh, that makes so much more sense, but also then got kind of weird because I'm like, okay, so you look older, but really you're only like 13 or something.
Because remember in the first book when Roya was like, oh, she's like 23 and she has to tell people she's older than she is because we find out she's only 19.
Right.
And so in the whole first book where he's like, oh, she's 23, she's old enough, she's got this, and then they find out, oh yeah, she's like, I'm only 19, and everybody was like, you look so much older than that. And so I feel like that comes into play now too, like, because she looks like her body is 23.
Right.
But her mind, she's really only 19.
Well, and then it makes more sense too of like some of the, I don't know, like naivety of that she has too, like that she just seems
so young.
Yeah. So fresh to the world a little bit.
You're absolutely, that's a great way to put it.
Yeah. So I think that hit home more for me in this book at least.
I loved the scene where they go to this ball and Sora was like, oh my God, that's like the guy who owned me, like he's gonna try to say some shit, and he did. And then damn, carbonation. And then Ari's like, oh my gosh, we have to get out of here. So she's like, how do I stop time and nobody's gonna like, how do I do this inconspicuously?
Right, where no one's going to notice.
Yes, and so she does it, and she puts Sora in this little cart, and they get outside, and she's like, how did I get here? She's like, oh, you just passed out.
You passed out, I put you in the cart, it's fine.
Yeah, you're fine.
Good. Yeah.
Wink, wink. But, like, even then, nobody questioned it.
Right, I feel like she got away with it a lot more than I've, like, everyone's a little sketched out by her, but no one, I don't know. No one seemed to pick up that there was something more going on.
Right. And as you were saying beforehand, everybody, like, was so mad at her. And I'm like, okay, but you guys were all doing this. Like, Royo, he couldn't get over it at all.
I know. That one, like, really made me mad.
Me too.
Like, you guys had bonded so much in the last book, and you were, like, so willing to do anything for her and all this jazz. And like at the end of the day, she made the decision to help you guys, not to help the king. So like she picked you. Like, yeah, you guys all had bad intentions going into it.
Yes.
And at the end of the day, you all picked each other. So
Yeah.
Like, what's the big deal? And they're all just like so mean. And like
so
when they're traveling the ship and she's like, I'm just listening to him through the wall so I know he's alive. I was like, oh,
my heart.
I know. I felt so sad for her.
And then later on when he's like, if you lie to me one more time, and then she
does.
did.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, come on. Like, why could, like, out of anybody, you could have trusted him.
I know.
That was so sad.
Yeah. That was really sad.
I was so sketched out by Mikhail this time around.
So sketched out. He was way more sketchy.
Yeah. I had forgotten. And I was like, I don't think he was like this in the first book. And he wasn't.
I think like towards the end, there was like he was a little sketchier once he was back like on the palace grounds with some of the other spies and things. There was like some weird stuff going on with like Zahara, is that what her name was? And like, I don't know, there's some other stuff where I'm like, okay, this is a little, you're sketchy too. But yeah, once we come to this other realm where now there are some of the people from the islands that he's from.
Yes.
And you realize that it's more about his secret identity, I guess. Even though he doesn't know about his full secret identity.
He didn't even have the full story.
I know. But that was when he started getting really sketchy, I think, was around that.
And then I loved that we got so much more from his POV because, like, you see what he's doing when he's being sketchy, and then he comes back to the group and acts like everything's fine. And I'm like, whoa, we are hiding lots of secrets. Where I feel like some of our other characters aren't necessarily as, like, savvy and, like, sketchy, and they don't have as many secrets as he had.
Well, and because he's the one who's like sending more secret notes and things too, like finding out more stuff. Okay, what did you think about him not telling Sora about her sister?
Because she still doesn't know.
She still doesn't know.
She still doesn't fucking know. And that made me so mad because here's my thing, and I feel this way in real life. I feel this way in books, and I felt this way in a really big series we've read.
Yeah.
I'm like, if you are intentionally not telling something that like could harm, like yes, she will have a big reaction, but as she should. Now she's just gonna be so much more upset when she does find out that you knew. Yeah, I did not like it.
It's gonna destroy her relationship with him because like we see how much she breaks down even just in like finding out that her sister has been sold. Like just that smaller piece of it, right? And that's when Ari has to pull her out on the little cart, right? Because she's just like melting to the ground, is like, I don't whatever. And it feels like her sister is like her only reason for living, which is so sad. So I'm at least hoping that in the next book, when hopefully Ty is like reunited with her, that maybe there's like a little bit of a reason for living still, even if her sister is not there.
I know. Because I feel like she even, at some point, she's starting to realize that she has like this like girl trust with Ari, which I loved. I loved to see like the girls coming together. But at the same time, it was like it doesn't feel strong enough for her to want to like live for. Her sister is really the only thing she's living for.
But at the same time, it's like she takes so much of the pressure for saving her sister and stuff upon herself, and she's not living for herself, and she needs to. Agreed. And it's so apparent through all of this book. It was like really heartbreaking to be in her POV, I feel like, in this book.
Yeah, agreed.
Although, okay, very curious to see if we're setting up for a love triangle in the next book with her and the other poison maiden that is like talking with Ty in the prison, because that was her first love, and they keep talking about it as being her first love. And the other poison maiden is clearly still in love with Sora.
Clearly.
And obviously Ty is. And there's like a couple times when Sora thinks of her.
Yep.
I want a bisexual love triangle.
Me too. Because when we find that information out, she was like, oh no, like that was my first love. Like there was so much more to it than we thought.
Right.
And like you could tell she was heartbroken too when she was telling them all of this. And so I was like, oh.
That just was like, especially because I feel like they're going to come back at the same time. And so. And then when she finds out that it was her that's helping Ty in the first place. So she's going to feel even more for her old love. I'm like, I am very excited for that.
Me too. I felt like that was setting it up perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh, I'm so excited. So on that note, How did you feel when you found out that Michaela got in the note that she is ashes?
I was really hoping that he was just misinterpreting it.
Me too.
And I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I think it was like more confirmed with I'm blanking on the other Poison Maiden's name.
Yes.
But I feel like she also said something to Ty about her sister being dead. And so it makes me think that probably is real.
Yeah.
But anytime somebody dies off screen, I just like off page,
question it.
I just question it a little bit.
Yeah.
And especially when it's something that is being said like in code and
exactly
not as directly like just she, like could
yes.
she mean someone else or not?
Right.
So there is a little bit, I think, for me, but I can't tell if I'm just being delusional and I just need to embrace it. But I think just because it passed so fast and went from like she's sold to she's dead so quickly, I'm like,
right. Like we don't know how, we don't know why, we don't know what happened.
Right.
We don't know the situation or the story behind it.
Right.
And so, yeah, I honestly have a little bit of a doubt with that as well. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if maybe that can come back and Mikhail can kind of like come back a little bit with her because he didn't ever say anything. Because like, what if he would have found out like, oh yeah, she's dead, and then he tells her and then it's not actually her and then it's something else.
Yeah.
I'm like, maybe this could be a little bit more of an open-ended thing.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what I think is going to happen there.
It was so sad when I found out, though. Like, when I saw that on the page, I was like, no.
I know. Oh, my God, I was so sad. I feel like there was a lot of shock moments in this book, which is, like, part of why it was still rated highly for me.
Yeah.
There just were a lot of little twists and turns.
There were.
I was not expecting Yoon to die.
No.
I was not expecting that at all. I was like, there's no way he's going to be dead. He's, like, one of the main characters.
Oh, agreed. Yes.
So was not. But it did it. Okay. Did you like that he died or not?
Oh, one of the notes that I actually had was that should have hit me harder.
Okay.
And I think because I just like literally was not expecting it at all. And I was like, I didn't have any time to process it. It was like going from that to like this huge battle. I was like, what just happened? Like I like couldn't really wrap my head around it. Like I should have had a more emotional response to it.
I think it felt like relief to me. That was the weirdest thing, is because I feel like Mikhail was having such a hard time like letting go of his love for Yoon, even though there was clearly issues there and that he didn't trust him. So like that relationship was stressing him out and it wasn't like bringing him joy anymore.
Yes, and he was feeling that.
Right. And so there was a little bit of that where I was like, oh God, that's just hard. And everyone else has hit this point where they're like, God, we just really don't actually want Yoon on the throne.
Like but everybody singly had
has those thoughts. And so I felt so terrible for it, but there was a little bit of like, feel like his character arc got a moment of redemption of doing something that's helping his friends and helping, you know, the country or whatever. But that it felt like a nice, easy way to be like, okay, honey, that's just, you did enough.
You did enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it was, I think maybe not the feeling I was supposed to have, but that was what my takeaway was. And like, I'm sure people are going to be sad going at the beginning of the next book of him being gone and stuff. But it just, I do think it created a lot more interest of what's going on now, especially with Ari. Seeming maybe more sketchy at the very end of this book. Like at the beginning, I was like 100% team Ari. And now at the end, I'm like, you got a lot of power there, girl.
I know.
I don't know.
She's like burning herself out.
Right? Yeah.
I was during that scene when they're in the room with the sister. She's like, "Yeah, if you can wield the ring, try." And we get from his point of view. All right, bet.
Literally,
I love it. That's literally what happened. Literally what happened.
Sorry,
because she was like, "Well, we already know you're a bastard son. Like, you're not actually gonna." And we had known that from the first book, but everybody else is like, "What? Like, are you serious?"
But it's a question because it's like he's assuming that for himself to be safe.
Well, because his mother told him that on her deathbed.
Right.
She was like, you're not the true heir. You're probably not going to be able to like take the crown. And then he's able to wield the ring. That was such a shock to me.
Yeah.
I think that was more of a shock than him dying.
It was more of a shock. But it also just then brought more questions of like, well, could somebody else wear the crown? Like, is it actually this blood right thing? Like,
but the sister couldn't do it.
Right. I don't know.
Me neither. I have no idea. Yeah.
That was really cool.
But part of me questions that Aerie didn't stop time, go up, do it for him, and then go back.
You think that, like, when we're back in her head that we might see that happen?
I do wonder that. Because I was like, he was so certain, and the sister was so certain that he just wasn't going to be able to use it.
But aren't we in his POV when he's like, he could feel the magic and, like, could feel
But he wouldn't have
happening?
known. Like, he did feel that, but I wonder if Aerie, like, at some point, like, put her hand on it and tried to use it so that he didn't look like a fraud. But, I mean, it could have just been, like, he really was just, like, actually, like, a true heir. Well,
because weren't they trying to say something about that maybe it wasn't actually the king, but, like, someone else related to the king that fucked his mom? And so it's, like, kind of still a bastard, but just technically still has royal blood.
Still has royal blood, yeah.
Yeah.
Where, like, the sister must not have just, like, had any.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have no idea.
That's actually really funny. I didn't think of it that way.
Right. I guess that's what my takeaway had been is, like, oops.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're right. There was that scene where he was like, oh, I'm feeling all this power. And then when Aerie puts on the ring, oh my God.
Gold eyes now.
Yeah.
And Mario's whatever. I love you regardless of color your eyes.
Oh my. I was like, cheese.
Yeah, that was cheesy. That was cheesy.
Our strong man just being all cheesy.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk about him, though.
Oh my gosh.
That added, like, more fun, I think, to his backstory.
I think so.
Of the, like, oh, he has secret blood, and he was, like, the only one that could open up the door to the underwater library.
Yes.
And
I loved that.
Yeah, me too.
Well, he was my favorite character from
Same.
Five Broken Blades. And
Same.
so I loved seeing... I always just, like, loved his point of view.
Yeah.
Especially because he's so unique. He's so different than any of the other characters that I just loved reading his point of view. And so when he finally gets something that's like, oh yeah, there was a reason. Yeah. There was a reason for all of this.
I know. I like having him feel like he's got a more significant piece than just being Ari's, like bodyguard, basically, you know? And so it was fun to, I don't know. Have his backstory feel like it's going to mean something more going into the next books.
Because we don't know what it means
yet. Right. Like, we don't know if that's going to help him out at some other point or if we're going to find out something else about his lineage or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited. I feel like there was so much that happened at the end of this book that I was like, what? I was like, there
were so many twists.
There's so many twists. So
what about Mikhail's background? We haven't even talked about that.
Yeah, what? I love when they get to the island and they were like, during the point of, because I don't remember whose point of view it was, but you like show up, it was Ari's at the very end, and he's like, oh yeah, I guess I'm
actually the leader of this nation that was supposed to be gone and whatever. Yeah, so that was like a whole nother it's just like a whole nother list of motivations for him now, I think.
There's gonna be a lot that changes for him now, I think.
Right. And just the power dynamics are gonna be different with the nations, because now did the king's sister die? Did that queen die or no? I don't remember. Or did she just run away?
I think she just ran away.
But now she doesn't even have the relic.
Right.
Right. And Ari has an equal number of relics
as King June.
Yes. So, and now we have Ari on Mikhail's side of this like supposed to be like completely destroyed nation. So I think it's going to change the political power dynamics a lot going into the next one.
I totally agree with you. I feel like, so I thought it was really interesting. So we had, if I'm remembering this correctly, we had the ship, and then King June is like at the top of the ship.
Yeah.
And he's got the crown and the flaming sword.
Yes. And then there's someone else with the scepter.
On the same ship, and they control the seas.
Yes.
And so now I'm like, well, technically he has, like, he doesn't himself personally have the 3 relics, but he could easily access the 3rd one. Yeah. Where Ari has the amulet, and now she's got the ring. It's like,
did they get the scepter at the end? I don't remember now.
I feel like they either killed the person that had the scepter, or I don't know if anybody actually like got it themselves, but maybe she has all 3. I don't remember.
Because there was another like bloodline thing with the scepter,
yes.
right? Because they like die out so fast. They have just like a crap ton of kids.
Like within like 2 years. Or
yeah. They just have like so many kids just to cycle through them. I was like, damn, okay.
That was kind of interesting.
It was very like the like 19 and counting. It's like what I was imagining. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do.
The TLC show.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Or like the John and Kate plus 8.
Yeah.
Continuing to have kids.
Yeah. So
oh my God, that's so funny.
So that was what I was picturing.
Yes, that's honestly what I was picturing too. And I expected them to be like really young, but then when they were describing them, they're like, oh yeah, they're in their 50s. They're like, they know that they've had enough life and now they're just going to die out in the next 2 years. I'm like, what the fuck?
Crazy.
I know.
Which I guess makes sense then why the king wasn't wanting to wield it, right? Because that they're like obviously not going to give it up easily to the king because that's what protects their shores.
Yes, exactly. So I think it'll be really interesting because are there 5 relics or how many relics are there?
Yeah.
So now they're 5. All split between 2 people basically. Yeah. Oh my gosh. What's going to happen when Ari gets all of them?
Right.
If she's already got the gold eyes, because King June has 2 on his person.
Yeah.
And he doesn't have gold eyes.
Right.
What's going on with Ari?
Do you think there's more than just the relics with her?
I do. Because I think like there was talk in here about how you basically become. Let me pull it up. There was a quote in here that was like when,
like being a deity before a god kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. That like as your body is being taken over by this god kind of.
They say if he gets the ring, if King June gets the ring, he'll be the most powerful being in the world. It's when man merges with God. And I literally said, oh, this is bad.
Oh, this is bad.
Oh, this is bad. Because I was like, obviously he's trying to get the ring.
Right.
But I'm like, well, if Ari's already got the 2 relics and she's already presenting differently, like there's gotta be something. She's already like merging, I think.
Do you think our little team of liars is going to start to like is going to revert back to not trusting Ari again now? Do you think it's going to start that cycle now that they're like, you didn't even tell us the whole, because they didn't know she had the first relic yet. So do you think that when they realize that she has 2 and not just 1, they're going to be like, what the actual fuck?
Well, I think they were kind of having that acknowledgement towards the end. I think that Michaela is like on her side. I think the whole next book is going to be like her trying to convince Royo that they're like, no, I'm okay. Like, please don't hate me. But I think Michaela is going to be like, cool, I've got that on my side now. Yeah. I wonder though, because I feel like, so I felt like there was a really big theme in the first book about like, okay, we're all trusting each other, but it was like, it was very different. I feel like this book was like coming back to that trust, like the trust was betrayed, and now we're all trying to come back and like trust each other again. I felt like it was really cool how the themes were done like similarly, but very different in each book.
I agree, because I think in the first book, I felt that the trust was based on the common goal of, you know, whatever, taking the crown off the king, right? And so it was more just situational that there was trust there and not necessarily long-term trust. It was sort of I trust you because I know we both want to achieve the same thing.
We're both going to have the same motivations for it. Yeah.
Well, different motivations, but want the same end result.
Same. Yes. I love that. Yeah.
And so then the beginning of this book, they obviously like none of them are really trusting each other because they find out about all the motivations being different, all these things. But I agree. I think that the trust earned in this book was less just about achieving their goal of getting the ring.
Agreed.
And was more like they know more about each other and they like truly care about each other like more as a chosen family. And so it feels like a deeper level of trust of like the type of trust they have because they've already had to like digest the fact that they didn't know everything before and like be okay with it.
Yep.
And so it was like felt like a more conscious choice to trust each other now.
Right. And I feel like Mikhail, who was like untrusting of literally everybody.
Yeah.
Him finally having the trust in Ari was like huge to me.
Mm-hmm.
I just really want an end game for Ari and Royo.
I know. I don't know who I want end game for Sora yet. Also, okay, were there low-key, I mean, I know there was a little bit of a maybe sexual tension with Mikhail and his buddy from the island, but was there a little bit with Sora too, or was that just me?
No, I definitely felt that. Like, because I was like, hold on a second.
I was like, I couldn't tell if it was just friends, like just that they're bonding a little bit more, or if it was a tiny bit romantic.
I got that too. I definitely
everybody loves Sora.
I know. Well, yeah. She's apparently so hot. She's the most beautiful woman you've ever seen. Oh my gosh. The fact that Ty was in the prison the entire time in this book,
that got a little long.
It got a little long. I was like, okay, what are we supposed to learn from this? Like, what knowledge are we learning here? Come on.
I feel like the only thing I took away, actually, the two things I took away from the time in the prison for him are, one, him meeting the other prisoner. Was it
Mikhail's dad?
Yeah, Mikhail's dad, and having Mikhail's dad sacrifice himself for Ty. Yeah. I think that was like a little bit of a full circle moment, and to set up the love triangle of he's building a tiny bit of trust, I guess, with this other poison maiden that was the first love.
Yeah.
So I guess we got that, but like he was just gone for literally literally the whole book.
Literally the entire book.
It got very long.
Well, because then they like meet up at the very end, but I was like, he was not there for any of the important stuff.
Yeah.
It was weird. And it was weird that they were keeping him alive.
Well, it seemed like the other poison maiden was keeping alive.
Yeah.
It was more because of her than I think that they otherwise would have.
But when they walked through the prison, like at the very end, and everybody else is in like multiple cells with different, or like there's multiple people in the different cells, and there's like all this torture happening and everything. And I was like, yeah, I know that he's like special, but like he's not like the Royal Highness. Yeah,
I still got that it was a little bit of a family privilege thing. Yeah. You know? Like his dad is in charge of some providence or whatever, right?
So his dad was Sora's master. Yep. And so I guess, maybe they just have like a lot of influence.
Yeah, I thought that he was like a pretty big family within King June's realm.
Yeah. Gosh, that makes me even
one of the counts or something. Let me look. I feel like he's got a title.
Yeah.
He's not a prince, but I feel like he has a pretty big like
something like that.
Something a pretty big title.
Yeah.
Count Siak, that's him, right?
That's the Count Siak is the uncle,
Southern Count of Gain who holds Daysum's indenture.
Yep.
So that must be his dad.
That's his dad. Yep.
Okay.
But I'm like, what's the son of the count? Like clearly influential family. So
yeah. Yep. So
it was interesting though. It's funny talking about this book. Like, yes, it took me a really long time to get into, and I was like, oh my God, yeah, we're switching POVs. Like, it's not an easy book. It's one of those for me where I like had to actually sit down and like focus because I'm like, oh yeah, now we're in a different POV. I'm like, who was this again? Like, it took me a while to get into, but talking about it, I really did enjoy it.
There's just so much that happened, and I will say, I guess I had a little bit of an opposite experience in that this is one of the only books with this many POVs where I like all of the POVs.
Yeah.
There's not any of them where I'm like, oh, it's this person again. And so it was one of the only ones that didn't annoy me when it was like jumping back and forth between like two different tasks. Like when we have Ari and Royo that are like off trying to get the amaranth egg, and we have Sora and Mikhail that are like off on some other mission, right?
Yeah.
I don't remember even what they were trying to do, but
I don't. But they
the bone. They're trying to find something from the remains of somebody, whatever, in some cave.
Oh yeah, they were trying to get the head.
The head.
Yes.
Yeah. So like when they were going back and forth between that, I think because I like all of the characters enough, I like wasn't annoyed going back and forth.
Yeah. I think I had a hard time like remembering like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is like, these were the secrets they were keeping. Oh yeah, this is the type of person that they are. And I agree with you. I also did really like everybody. I liked how the voices were different. Like so different.
They're such like
Yeah.
distinctly different in our monologues of
Yes.
like the types of words they use and stuff too. And so that helps me keep it straight a little bit more in my head.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool because even though I felt, maybe I was just because I was in a reading slump and I knew that I would want to go through it and like remember everything that happened. It's not just like a quick romance, whatever. And so I was like actually taking the time to like sit down and be like, what was happening?
I thought it was fun. I just felt like so much happened. Like there was a lot. There were so many things that I didn't expect, which I find fun.
What was your favorite plot twist?
Honestly, I think Yoon dying.
Yeah.
I just really was not expecting him to die.
Yes.
At all. And actually kind of the other poisoned maiden like coming back into the picture. Yeah. I also wasn't expecting that even a little bit. And I just think it's going to create a lot of interest in the romance because otherwise it felt like a lot of the couples were set up from the first book, right? Yes. And all of them sort of developed in the first book. And so now one of the couples is broken because somebody died.
Yep.
One of the couples, there's like a love triangle coming up.
Yep.
And I mean, I'm happy that Ari and Roya are just finally having their moment, you know, but.
Yeah, but now he's like, hold on, you had another relic. I can't trust you ever again.
Right.
I told you if you lied to me one more time. And so I actually think there's going to be a disconnect there too.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he wouldn't even look at her. He wouldn't even look at her. So I'm like, huh.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of disconnect in all of them.
What about you? Was there a plot twist that was your favorite?
I think the plot twist with Ari's eyes, and there's clearly so much that's going to happen with that. I think that was probably my favorite. But my other favorite like plot point was when she gets the egg and what was it called? The amaranth?
Amaranth, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe.
When the amaranth was like talking to her and she's like, whoa, what? You guys can talk?
Yeah.
And then they're like, well, and then the bird, was it Rio or something?
Yeah, I don't remember what they named the little baby owl.
The little baby owl, because she was like, no, we don't let our friends, like, we're going to save this owl. And so she was feeding it.
I know. I love that she was like feeding it and just like kept hanging out on the windowsill.
It was so cute. And so it was like following her around and like protecting her. And so it flies in during the scene and starts to like attack the bird. And they're like, what are you doing? Come on. And then she was like, well, I saved it. That's my animal. And they were like, because you saved it and you've been nurturing it, you're one of us now, I guess.
Yeah. They're like, good enough. Ready, go.
Yeah, good enough. Here you go. All right. So I'm like, I hope that comes back. We'll see.
Yeah.
But that was one of my favorite parts.
That was cute too.
Yeah.
There's another book I've read recently where there's like, you know, someone feeding some stray animal that then comes full circle and that ends up being the thing that saves them, you know?
Oh,
and I just always love that.
Me
type
too.
of plot point.
It's like instant karma, or even if it's not instant karma, it's like karma coming back. Like if you're a good person, like good things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
to you.
Yes. Oh, I love that view on it.
Yeah. I thought like it was very obvious to me, like in this book, like the themes of trust and the themes of like trusting the people that you're like in such a close corner with. I don't know. I really liked it. I really liked that like the trust had to be earned with them. And like especially with Michaela and Ari, because that trust was earned so heavily, like hopefully that trust is not as easily broken.
Yeah.
Where I hope that like Royo with trust, hopefully he can like just give in a little bit. Like come on, like we all had the same goal in mind.
I know. I also love that all of the characters' motivations are so complex, and even how they view themselves is so complex, right?
Agreed.
Like the guilt that Royo has for like his part in his ex-girlfriend, or like I don't know, Ari obviously having like a really complicated view of like her childhood and her family and not wanting to be like her family, and Sora's complexity with like feeling like her parents gave her up, not because they were forced to, but because it was a choice, and so there was just so many subtle things about their background that I don't know. It just made them finding out that Sora's family didn't give her up, and that it was just like They were forced
It
to.
was forged. Yeah, the signature was forged afterward. Oh my God, that was so sad to me. I'm like, her whole life, like,
She thought that.
oh, that's so sad. So, like, hopefully a little bit of guilt has been lifted for her, but
Yeah.
it was still really hard to hear.
What you think, Frankie?
Did you like this book,
Did you like this book?
Do you like it? We got my little Frankie here that's just loving all the attention.
Yep.
I
Puppy
love
friends.
it. Well, let's see. Do we have anything else to talk about this?
That's really all I got.
I know. I'm excited. I feel like the first book left off on such a good cliffhanger, and this one did too.
Yeah, I think this is another good I'm glad that it's only a trilogy. Too.
Me too.
So there's just going to be one more.
Yeah, me too. I felt like this was
Good length.
It was a really good length. I think it was about the same length as the first one.
Yeah, I think so. But I mean, especially as a trilogy. Is what
I agree.
Yeah, so it's like 400 pages.
Oh, yeah. Yep. This one was almost 500.
Yeah.
So.
I think a trilogy is like just the right length for this type of story, though, because with so many characters, it could be easy to like drag it out, you know? But I'm glad that it's going to get wrapped up in the next book. But I'll definitely read the next one.
Oh my gosh, me too. I'll probably read it right when it comes out. I loved it.
We did read this one pretty soon after it came out.
Yeah, so I'm excited. Yeah. Yay! Well, I'm so glad you loved it.
Yeah, I'm glad you liked it too. Right? Another good one. I hope you guys enjoyed it too.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
See ya.
Bye.